Hello, I'm Indonesia. This is study. My name is Alicia. I'm going to be this webinar. This webinar is going to be presented by Matthias Bengtsson, Political and Economic Advisor, Fremita Desektia Amritasari from the Embassy of Denmark. Please stay tuned until the end of the webinar because we will hold a Q&A session. If you have any questions about the presentation or anything related to the country's higher education, you can submit your question in the YouTube comment section anytime throughout the presentation. And now, please welcome Mr. Bengtsson and Mrs. Amritasari.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are from the Danish embassy here, and we will present you about studying in Denmark. This afternoon, we will have me, Fremita, and also I also have my colleague Matthias, also from the same team at the Danish embassy. And we are also very grateful to have Stephanie here, an Indonesian alumni who studied in Copenhagen, in Copenhagen University in 2018, who will be joining us to tell her story studying in Denmark as an Indonesian. Tapi mungkin selanjutnya saya akan meneruskan dalam bahasa Indonesia supaya mungkin lebih santai. Dan kemudian nanti kolega saya, Matthias, akan meneruskan menjelaskan tentang universitas di Denmark. Sebenarnya Matthias bisa juga bahasa Indonesia, tapi mungkin nanti Matthias bisa milih dalam bahasa Inggris. Kemudian nanti Kak Stefani akan bercerita tentang pengalamannya belajar dan kuliah dan juga tinggal di Denmark. Okay, so kenapa sih kita harus memilih Denmark ketika kita akan memutuskan untuk belajar ke luar negeri, dan kenapa Denmark? Tapi sebelum menjawab pertanyaan itu, mungkin kita akan cerita apa sih Denmark itu. So next. Nah, mungkin ada yang udah tahu tentang Denmark, mungkin ada yang udah pernah ke Denmark atau mungkin belum. Jadi Denmark itu adalah salah satu negara di Eropa Utara, tepatnya di Nordik, di daerah Skandinavia, salah satu negara Nordik dan salah satu negara Skandinavia. Dan Denmark itu sebenarnya negara kecil dengan jumlah populasi hanya 5,5 juta orang, itu seperti Jogja ya mungkin. Tetapi Denmark itu menawarkan tempat kuliah tingkat lanjut yang cukup baik. Jadi untuk negara dengan populasi 5,5 juta orang, itu Denmark sudah menawarkan kualitas pendidikan yang cukup tinggi. Nanti kita akan dengar lebih lanjut di bagian yang selanjutnya, tapi mungkin sekarang kita akan cerita dulu kenapa Denmark dan apa sih yang terkenal dari Denmark. Jadi Denmark itu dikenal sebagai negara dengan tingkat well-being atau tingkat kepuasan hidup atau happiness, ya. Itu dengan yang paling tinggi di dunia. Kenapa sih? salah satunya nanti adalah work-life balance yang sangat seimbang, dan juga Denmark itu negara dengan tingkat kesetaraan yang cukup baik, jadi setara, baik itu dalam bidang tingkat sosial atau gender atau etnisitas, dan itu Denmark itu cukup setara. Jadi tidak ada jarak yang sangat jauh, sangat tinggi antara satu dengan lainnya. Jadi dan juga oleh karena itu cukup damai. Lalu Denmark itu juga dikenal dengan negara yang sangat bersih dan sangat transparan. Masyarakat Denmark itu berdasarkan openness and trust. Jadi tingkat kepercayaan di masyarakatnya itu sangat tinggi antara satu dengan lainnya, dan ini menciptakan budaya yang sangat terbuka dan sangat trusting antara satu dengan lainnya. Itu dulu, tapi untuk kuliah di Denmark apa aja sih pilihannya? Nah, di Denmark itu ada 5, mungkin garis besarnya ada 5 daerah untuk tempat kuliah, baik itu di dekat di ibu kota seperti di University of Copenhagen, dan juga di daerah lain ada di Aarhus, ada di Aalborg. Ada juga di Southern Denmark, di Southern Denmark ada University of Southern Denmark, dan juga nanti ada juga sekolah untuk bisnis yang cukup terkenal, salah satu yang terbaik di Eropa, Copenhagen Business School, dan juga ada tempat kuliah untuk teknis itu di Danish Technical Universities. Denmark itu memang negara kecil, tetapi Denmark menawarkan tingkat kualitas pendidikan yang sangat tinggi. Ini kita akan lihat di slide selanjutnya. Ya, jadi menurut Universitas 21 ini adalah jaringan untuk jaringan dari tingkat dari akademisi di dunia yang menilai sistem pendidikan dari berbagai macam negara. Dan itu Denmark ini peringkatnya cukup tinggi untuk negara dengan posisi dengan populasi seperti Denmark dengan hanya 5,5 juta orang, 5,5 juta orang. Itu secara umum menawarkan situasi belajar yang sangat baik. Jadi di sini parameter yang diambil adalah perhatian dari apa sih pemerintah untuk pendidikan. Itu bisa dilihat dari resources, jadi anggaran negara untuk pendidikannya itu cukup tinggi. Kemudian juga environment, jadi lingkungan pembelajaran itu apakah ramah terhadap semua terhadap mahasiswanya, baik yang misalnya dari diversity, lalu juga dari tingkat sosial, diversity, gender, itu apakah menunjang untuk setiap mahasiswa. Lalu dilihat juga dari connectivity, jadi tingkat jurnal yang diterbitkan, tingkat international students, mahasiswa internasionalnya ada berapa, apakah berbaur dengan baik. Ini nanti kita akan melihat bagaimana Denmark itu sangat memanjakan mahasiswa internasional, karena di Denmark itu biasanya untuk kuliah master itu sebenarnya sudah dengan bahasa Inggris dan sangat-sangat multicultural. Lalu juga yang terakhir dilihat adalah output. Jadi begitu lulus itu apakah lulusan dari Denmark itu mempunyai tingkat employability, jadi bagaimana mereka dapat mendapatkan pekerjaan yang sesuai, dan juga bagaimana pendidikan di Denmark ini menunjang karir mereka selanjutnya setelah lulus dari Denmark. Dan itu dari semua kriteria itu Denmark ini menempati peringkat yang cukup tinggi dari seluruh dunia. Itu di tahun ini itu di peringkat nomor 3 dan juga sebelumnya. Oke, selanjutnya ya, jadi di Denmark ini kita juga bisa memilih berbagai macam ada pilihan untuk belajar di Denmark. Apakah akan meneruskan ke kampus universitas biasa atau akademi atau sekolah yang khusus. Lalu dari programnya pun juga cukup beragam. Biasanya sih memang untuk master atau juga postdoctoral itu biasanya cukup populer. Kalau S1 itu mungkin kurang populer karena saat ini biasanya untuk S1 itu hanya ditawarkan dalam bahasa Denmark, dan itu biasanya harus fasih dulu dalam bahasa Denmark. Tetapi untuk master, PhD, dan program-program lain itu sangat banyak sekali pilihannya, dan program-program ini banyak sekali yang ditawarkan dalam bahasa Inggris. Nanti kita akan lihat juga selanjutnya bagaimana tidak hanya program yang ditawarkan dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi di luar kehidupan kampus pun mahasiswa internasional itu juga sangat mudah jadi dapat menggunakan bahasa Inggris dalam kesehariannya. Jadi tidak perlu lagi untuk harus belajar bahasa Denmark gitu. Walaupun memang akan bisa juga nanti akan disediakan sarana untuk itu bagi yang mau. Jadi karena Denmark ini sangat terbuka dan sangat ramah untuk mahasiswa asing, maksudnya dari luar Denmark. Jadi lingkungannya sangat mendukung. Sangat multicultural untuk international students, sangat populer, banyak sekali mahasiswa asing yang belajar di Denmark. Jadi ini menawarkan suatu pengalaman yang sangat seru. Mungkin nanti kita akan dengar lebih lanjut dari alumni kita dari Denmark. Namun selanjutnya kampus apa aja sih yang ada di Denmark yang mungkin bisa kita lihat selanjutnya, next. Nah, nanti Matias akan membantu menjelaskan tentang institusi apa saja yang bisa dipilih di Denmark ketika kita mau meneruskan kuliah di Denmark. Oke, Matias, silakan. Tapi untuk sesi Matias mungkin bisa milih Matias mau pakai bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris.
Saya nggak bisa berbicara lancar, jadi di bahasa Inggris mungkin lebih bagus. Basically, thank you, Remita, for giving a good introduction to Denmark. I'm from Denmark. I'm working here at the embassy, so as Remita mentioned, there are many different kind of institutions in Denmark, and one area that actually is not often highlighted as much is these academies and university colleges, which is more for applied sciences, you can say. So it's very much like it's less. I don't know if we can call it less academic somehow, but it is more like hands-on, and so it's also a lot of it like stuff like, as it says, teaching and nursing and engineering and business skills that's more applied. And the upside to this, of course, is also that it usually results in better employability. So that is definitely something to look after. And there's also one academy here that I'm going to mention later that is participating in this year's EHAF. You can change the next slide. So basically, now I don't know if you can see the whole thing. Yeah, okay. So I know that the whole ranking matters a lot when people choose universities. So I'm of course going to mention that. In the overall, we have the University of Copenhagen, which is usually the top rank on an overall perspective, with the highest being on the ARWU, where it's like number 33 in the world. And after that, we have Aarhus University, and also last one is the Technical University of Denmark. But in this slide, I also want to highlight that depending on what you're interested in, that also some specific areas within universities in Denmark are doing even better. And specifically within areas like biotechnology, you can see that we have like the Technical University of Denmark, which is the 5th best and the best in the EU. And Also, when it comes to life sciences, public health, some of those areas are very strong areas of Danish universities. And then we have this Copenhagen Business School that I'm going to mention a little bit later, but they are also very known for their business and management studies. So sometimes I think it's also important when you look at these lists to not just, because they're very overall lists, so it also depends on what is it you're studying and what is it you're interested in. And then sometimes you will see that there are some areas that some universities you might not have known much about are really good at. So this is just to illustrate that there are some strongholds for Danish universities. Yeah, you can change to next slide. Okay, so I mean, Denmark is a small country, so we actually only have, you can say 8 universities, and universities, I mean, places where you offer also not just undergraduate degrees, but also master's degrees. And the biggest one is Aarhus University, which is in Jutland, which is basically the peninsula part of Denmark, which is not, so it's not where the capital is, but on the other side. And it's very known for being, having a very nice student environment, because the campus is actually in one big area. So there's a very beautiful parks and a lot of like socializing between different faculties and students. And also a queen went there. So it's a very good university, and Aarhus in general is a very, it's a city of less than 300,000 people, about 300,000 people. So it's much a student town, because then you have a university with up to like, I think 40,000-50,000 students, right, in this city. So the student population in Aarhus is very big. So it makes it a very enjoyable place to be a student. And the second one that's also very famous in Denmark is, of course, Copenhagen University, where I also went, since I'm from that part of Denmark, which is the oldest, and as you can see, like 39 Nobel laureates from there. And you also have famous people like H.C. Andersen, Søren Kierkegaard, and Niels Bohr, who were students at the University of Copenhagen. So that's like the oldest university in Denmark, and also the one that's internationally most recognized on the overall rankings. But it's a bit different in the sense that Copenhagen is a bigger city, of course. So you have the campuses spread out depending on what you study. So that what you see in this picture, for instance, is the old campus in the center, or is actually more of the administrative part now, while you have some very modern, newly built campuses, one part of Denmark, and you have another, where I went, for instance, in the center of Denmark, you have an very old, very beautiful old hospital. It's like 200 years old, that was turned into a campus as well. So there's many different campuses. Yeah, so that's definitely the 2 main famous ones. You can change slide. Then there are some other ones that you might not have heard about, but as you could see from the ranking before, especially if you're interested in some of the more technical disciplines, then we have some universities like Aalborg University, which is a very new university and very innovative university that focuses a lot on interdisciplinary degrees, and also on cooperation between students. And it's like one of those universities where you can also shape your own education more, I would say. So of course, the old universities are always more classic in some sense, right? And then you have the younger universities who had to develop things from scratch. So it's very interesting. And then you have the Technical University of Denmark, which is a very interesting, as you maybe saw on the slide before with ranking. It was actually this year ranked as the second most best university on research and innovation in the world overall, after MIT. And that's because what they really focus on is basically inventing the solutions of tomorrow. They have all these incubators and are very much focusing on startups as well, and within the technical areas and within design. So they're very, very strong if you're interested in innovation, especially, but also engineering in general. It's a very strong institution with a lot of funding for interesting research projects. So also if you are maybe on the PhD, especially, for instance, that is very interesting if you are pursuing a PhD within engineering, for instance. But it's also generally a good university for these technical sciences. It's slightly north of Copenhagen, maybe 30 minutes or so by public transportation, but it's very easy to get there. Yeah, next one. Yeah, and then I also just want to mention a few others. Copenhagen Business School. I don't want to talk long about this, but it's the best business school in Northern Europe. It's very much known for also having close cooperation with companies because it is a business school. And I don't know how many big Danish companies you know, but like maybe you know the biggest shipping company in the world, for instance, Maersk. You know, these blue container ships. They're working closely with CBS, and the same with Novo Nordisk, which is a big pharmaceutical company, and maybe Carlsberg you also know. Lego could be another one to mention. And that is in Frederiksberg, which is in Copenhagen city as well. So it's very centrally located. Then you have, I also just want to mention two other universities who are present at this year's EHF. So I wanted to mention the University of Southern Denmark, which is also a very relatively new from 1966. It has a very international profile as well, with 20% of foreign students, and it's in Funen, which is an island in the middle, close to Odense. Maybe you heard about H.C. Andersen is from Odense. That's what it's famous for. It's the third biggest city in Denmark. So it's kind of in the middle of Denmark, but also a very pleasant place to study. I don't know actually which day, but they will be on the following days. The same goes for the next one, which is the only, I said the university college, so academies. There's this Zealand Academy of Technology and Business. I know we had Indonesian students going there, being very pleased with that. And again, it's much more related to the applied sciences and more like undergraduate, or like what we call in Denmark, like profession kind of graduates. Yeah, so it's definitely less on the research academic side and more on the hands-on side of things. Yes, next slide. And then I also think in the end we need to mention also that Denmark is very famous for design and architecture. Here you have Jon Utsson's the Opera House in Sydney by a Danish architect. Maybe you also heard about Big, this Danish architect who's famous for instance, in Copenhagen, creating this waste incinerator where you can ski on top. It sounds very strange, but it's actually possible. And he's also doing a major projects in the States and around the world. And also with design, I think we have also a few design companies here in Indonesia from Denmark that are focusing a lot on sustainable design materials. So we have a lot of very strong institutions within this area as well. Like the main institution in Copenhagen called KADK is the 21st best on art and design globally. So on the ranking, so that's also a very good one. Next one. Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to mention is basically that I think what Denmark is also known for, apart from like a very excellent higher education system, that is like a very it's very open for students to participate and provide their opinions and develop their own notions of things. And also, as Remita mentioned, it's very like equality is very important in Denmark. So it's also like, if you have something you want to discuss with your professor, you can just contact him directly. There's not much hierarchy as you would see in some countries, which I think is very nice because with more access, you can also more easily ask questions, right? And then we also focus a lot on like problem-based learning, as I said, and discussions. And as I said before, this also means that there's a lot of emphasis on innovation and the students' own ideas and how you can develop new things in new areas. I think that's it for now, so we don't use too much time. Yeah, so I will give it to Stephanie now, who is she's an alumni from Indonesian alumni who used to study at the University of Copenhagen, and I think it would be good if she can provide you with some a little bit of info on how it is to study and live in Denmark, in particular as an Indonesian student. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Matthias. Okay, so probably next slide. Okay. Di sini saya akan lebih ke cerita ya, nggak mengikuti slide secara langsung, tapi lebih kayak ke cerita. Jadi perkenalkan terlebih dahulu, nama saya Stephanie Angka. Saya lulusan dari University of Copenhagen di tahun 2018. Saya majoring di Food Innovation and Health, dan itu master program di University of Copenhagen. Jadi seperti yang sesuai dengan Kak Fremita dan Matias bilang, banyak di program ini juga di-offer dalam bahasa Inggris. Jadi pertama kali kenapa memilih untuk study di Denmark, itu karena pertama tertarik terhadap programnya itu sendiri. Jadi Food Innovation and Health, I think di Eropa cuman ada di Denmark, dan cara mereka mengkombinasikan antara science dan social science itu menarik di program ini. Terus kedua, karena dari universitasnya juga termasuk salah satu universitas terbaik dan tertua di dunia. Jadi sudah bisa dipastikan bahwa kualitas dari pendidikannya itu sangat baik. Kalau misalnya dari kuliahnya sendiri di Denmark, menurut saya sih sangat-sangat berbeda dari di Indonesia. Kenapa? Saya akan highlight cuman sekitar 4 poin sih yang menurut saya sangat berbeda. Pertama itu karena seperti kata Kak Fremita tadi, flat hierarchy dan semuanya equal. Jadi kita nggak punya panggilan untuk profesor, Pak, Bu, atau profesor, dan kita langsung panggil itu dengan nama. Dan walaupun kita student, karena itu equal, kita punya hak juga untuk bertanya atau bahkan kasih suggestion ke dosennya. Makanya untuk kelasnya sendiri pun terkesan lebih informal dan semacam seperti diskusi di dalam kelas itu. Kedua yang berbeda itu jadwal kuliah di Denmark itu kalau dilihat sangat santai, tapi sebenarnya lebih berat juga. Karena banyak sekali bacaan di kelas, dari satu kelas itu bacanya banyak. Terus di dalam kelasnya sendiri pun itu bukan mengulangi bacaan, tapi kita diskusi tentang bacaan itu. Jadi kita harus baca sebelumnya, sebelum bisa attend the class. Jadi nanti ketika di akhir periode kelas, yang ditanyakan juga bukan hafalan, tapi lebih ke analisis dan pengertian kita terhadap topik tersebut. Jadi ibaratnya kalau misalnya ditanya itu bukan kayak kapan Pangeran Diponegoro dibunuh gitu, tapi pertanyaannya lebih mengapa Pangeran Diponegoro dibunuh. Jadi kita harus benar-benar mengerti dan bisa menganalisis lebih jauh lagi. Yang menurut saya sangat bagus sih untuk critical thinking. Yang ketiga itu di saat kerja kelompok dan juga men-challenge mahasiswa Indonesia untuk lebih berani bersuara. Jadi kalau di kerja kelompok, di awalnya selalu ada expectation settings. Jadi itu lebih ke arah kayak, pinginnya kerja kelompoknya kayak gimana, yang nggak disukai apa, yang works for you itu apa, dan diskusi semacam ini tuh sudah ada di awal. Jadi itu sebenarnya mempermudahkan karena kita benar-benar international ya. Jadi background-nya berbeda-beda dan kemungkinan pola pikirnya juga beda-beda. Jadi itu sangat stand out menurut saya. Dan juga harus berani bersuara sih karena di education di Denmark itu kalau misalnya kita nggak setuju, kita harus bilang nggak setuju dan nggak setuju kenapa. Atau kalau misalnya kita nggak suka, nggak sukanya kenapa. Karena kalau diam saja itu berarti ya setuju dan kita nggak butuh bantuan apa-apa. Kalau misalnya untuk lifestyle-nya sendiri, itu yang pasti beda banget. Pertama, kemana-mana itu naik sepeda. Punya sepeda itu suatu kewajiban untuk tinggal di Copenhagen atau di Denmark in general sih. Mau itu hujan, mau itu ada angin, terabas semuanya. Which is bagus karena jadinya juga kita punya active lifestyle juga. Kedua itu adalah on time, jadi tepat waktu. Jadi kalaupun misalnya kita telat, kita juga harus bilang in advance. Jadi itu sebenarnya kayak respect each other time very well. Yang ketiga adalah work-life balance. Di Denmark itu sangat-sangat menjunjung tinggi work-life balance. Jadi mulai dari kerja ataupun kuliah itu pasti selesainya lumayan early kita bilang kalau dibandingkan dengan di Indonesia. Jadi rush hour-nya mereka sekitar jam 4 sore gitu udah pada pulang semua gitu. Nah, tapi bukan berarti karena waktunya sebentar, tapi kerjaannya nggak beres. Jadi di Denmark itu sangat efisien. Jadi mereka kerja sebentar tapi semuanya kelar gitu, nggak ditunda-tunda nanti. Dan di satu sisi karena mereka work-life balance banget, maka society juga menuntut kita untuk punya kehidupan selain sekolah. Jadi either itu part-time kah, atau itu ikut kegiatan society lah, ikut komunitas apapun, tapi itu sesuatu yang penting untuk di society di Denmark. Kalau challenge-nya sendiri, kalau mahasiswa Indonesia, mungkin yang pertama di Denmark itu mahal, segala macamnya mahal. Terutama dari rupiah converse ke Danish krone itu mahal. Jadi sudah bisa dipastikan kemampuan memasak akan meningkat dengan drastis. Kedua itu dingin dan gelap. Jadi karena dia sangat di atas, pucuk di northern, terutama ketika winter itu sekitar jam 8:30 pagi itu cahaya baru keluar.
Excuse me, sorry, you have 2 minutes left to finish your presentation.
Oke.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ya, pertama dingin dan gelap itu, terus kayak sore juga gelapnya sangat cepat. Jadi mungkin mempengaruhi psikologis kita sih. Dan so far tantangan terbesarnya itu sih untuk saya. Jadi ya kalau mau study in Denmark mungkin banyak-banyak jaket. Okay, I will bring it back to Kak Fremita. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so maybe just to the next slide. Next slide. Ini karena waktunya terbatas, jadi sebagai penutup ini hanya gambaran ketika mau kuliah di Denmark itu gimana sih? Apakah pembiayaannya bagaimana? Itu harganya beda-beda tiap kampus. Tetapi juga ada beasiswa. Nanti kalau ada yang mau tanya beasiswa bisa di kesempatan ini atau kesempatan lainnya di booth kita. Next slide. Jadi untuk bertanya lebih lanjut mengenai kuliah di Denmark, jangan lupa kunjungi sesi tentang study in Denmark di booth IHEF di pekan selanjutnya. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthias and Rita, for your presentation. We will begin our Q&A session now. We have a lot of questions coming in, and I will try to have you answered all of them, hopefully. First question. For a fully funded PhD program, is there any age limit?
So I will answer this. No, as we said that Denmark is a very equal country, and that also includes age, gender, race. So no, there's no age limit, not only for a PhD program, but also for master's program. We have seen master's students in Denmark studying in their 40s, 50s. That is also possible because education is right to all.
All right. Going into the second question, is it required to have GMAT or GRE in Denmark if you want to do master's degree in business and management studies?
I will answer this. Yes, you will always need to check with the program that you are applying. This is especially very relevant to, for example, Copenhagen Business School. Some programs there, actually most programs there, because it's business schools, they will require you to have a GMAT or GRE score, and also check the minimum score required to get into that program.
Answer. Third question. Is there any bachelor program in Denmark that is delivered in English? And what kind of scholarship that are available for bachelor or undergraduate program?
Usually for bachelor degree in Denmark, most of them are offered in Danish, and you have to prove your fluency in Danish in order to study bachelor degree in Danish. So that is not really popular for Indonesian students. And for scholarships, also these are mostly for a master's degree and up, so master's and PhD, and there are not so many not so many, very little known of scholarships offered to bachelor's degree.
Yeah, maybe just a quick one. There are a few undergrads in English, specifically in Copenhagen Business School has a lot of that. And also Roskilde University has a few, and I think also Copenhagen, but not that many. And Remisa is right. It's like primarily like the majority is in Danish on the undergrad level, but there are some. And especially places like Copenhagen Business School, which is very, yeah, even the name, is very, yeah, they don't even have a Danish name. Yeah.
All right. So I think you already touched base about this subject before, but the students want to know if there is are there any government scholarship in Denmark for Indonesian?
Yes, the Danish government offers scholarships for international students, and that also includes Indonesia. There is no specific scholarships for Indonesian students this year. For now, we still don't have. So Indonesian students would also need to compete from other non-European students. And how to get the scholarships? It's actually very easy because there is no separate application for your master or PhD program and for the scholarship. So so the scholarship is offered directly to the to each university or to the programs, and when you apply to that study program, you just need to indicate that you want or need the scholarships, and that's it. If the university sees you as qualified to receive the scholarships, then you will get an offer, and that and maybe just for information that because the scholarship is administered by each university, so it could vary from one program to another. There are programs which have scholarships available, and there are programs which are not, and also the type of scholarship, whether it's fully funded or a partial one, that is also vary from one program to another. So in short, you just need to pick the program that you would like to study, and have a look in each of the Danish universities. Where can you study this? And they will always have the scholarships. If they have the scholarships available, then you just need to indicate that you want the scholarships, and you don't need to do anything else.
All right, thank you. This question is in Indonesian, so I have to translate it. After graduation, can we immediately work in Denmark? Will the government give working visa for international students who just got graduated?
Maybe I can also answer this. I think it's an important thing to emphasize that that basically, first of all, a very common thing in Denmark is to work when you're a student. So also when you talk about Denmark being expensive, it's important to remember that actually it's not that difficult maybe to get a part-time job, and even a part-time job at a restaurant or something will pay very well. So actually a lot of international students do that, and you are allowed to work up to 20 hours a week, even if you're not an EU student, if you have a residence permit, which you get if you are accepted at a degree. When it comes to working after you're finished, your residence permit will be valid for another 6 months after, where you have the time to try to find a job in Denmark. So of course, if you get a job with a Danish company that can sponsor you, then you can of course get a business visa, a working visa instead. So there is some time after to look for jobs in Denmark.
All right, thank you. I think we have enough time to ask you a couple more questions. This one goes, I am looking for any program and funding opportunities for PhD in aerospace or wind engineering. What is the recommended university, and what are the funding options?
So I will try to answer. We would suggest you to look into the DTU, or Danish Technical University, first, because they're one of the best technical schools in Europe. For the actual details, whether they have an aerospace program or wind engineering, we will have to look that up. But then we can also inform this to everyone. So how do I find the program that I want, which would fit me? You can go to studyindenmark.dk, and then there is a search function where you can type the keyword of the program that you want, and then it will list all the possible programs that might interest you. So that is valid not only for this specific question, but also for the other possible. But yeah, for aerospace or all the technical engineering programs, our first recommendation would go to go check the Danish Technical University. And yes, of course, when you arrive on the program's website, you'll find information on the scholarships available.
Yeah, but generally speaking, PhDs are funded in Denmark. So it's like if you get a PhD, it will usually come with a funding, because we don't offer unfunded PhDs in Denmark. So
and maybe just an additional, because the PhD program in Denmark, that it's not a scholarship, but it's a stipend. So it's more of a salary, because a scholarship would be just for student budget, something like that. But a PhD would be close to like a normal salary in Denmark.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, that is the last question that we have left. So that's the end of our Q&A session. Just a reminder for all of you who want to connect with the Danish Embassy, you can get the information, and you can connect with them through the